anytime you get to sit down with a Hall of Famer, no matter what sport it is, it's an awesome thing. But when it gets to be somebody who's your friend, it's a great day and not a job. I'm so glad to welcome you back inside the beautiful Breslin Center, the Berkowitz, all of this great facilities with the man and the legend, the greatest coach in Spartan history, and my buddy, Tom Izzo. Hi, Tom.
Hondo, how you doing, man?
Good to see you.
It is good. It's hard to believe that school started. You know, I had a great day yesterday. I went down and saw Draymond Green working out, getting rehab down in Fort Lauderdale. Kind of got back into basketball mode a little bit after the long recruiting period. And next week, hopefully get a little time to enjoy my family. You know, my son's back in school. And then it's game time.
Every time I see Steven, I'm just stunned at how he's grown up in front of us. I mean, you're a dad, so you see it more, but what a great, I mean, Rocky, of course, everyone loves Rocky, but Steven, he's just really grown into a great kid.
Yeah, he has grown up a little bit, you know, and he's even growing, you know.
Right.
He's growing this way, you've grown this way. You shrunk, he's growing, but he's finally grown a little bit. Going to be a senior, can you believe that? I mean, you were here when he came, and it's hard for me to believe, but that's parenthood.
Tom, I want to get into some really good stuff from over the summer, and I spent some significant time with Cash this summer. And he said something to me that when he finished, I told him, when I tell Tom about that, I think he's going to be more excited than anything you could ever say. And he was a little stunned. But I asked him about him. And this is his team. This team's going to go anywhere. Cash is going to have to take him. And I said, how do you approach this season differently? And his answer sounded like magic. He said, I can't approach this season that I have to play better than the other team's point guard. I have to approach this season that I have to be the best Cassius Winston I can be. I have to hold myself to the standards of what I think I am. And he said, and I have to hold my teammates to the standards of what they think they are. That sounds a lot of Tom Izzo there.
Well, and I was just going to say, and you know, if you finally buy in, not that he hasn't bought in, but I think now, you know, the first year was a tough year on him, you know, come in as superstar, things he couldn't done very well. Didn't know how to play hard enough, didn't know how to be in great shape. He probably wasn't happy with me like most freshmen aren't. Last year he had a pretty good breakout year for a sophomore, you know, proved his shooting was so much better, he was in so much better shape. This year I think he's ready to take that monster step, and the monster step is he does have to play and to his own standards, and to my standards, and to our standards, you know what I mean? Him and I now are a package deal. You know, he was over here, I was over here, normal for freshmen, you know? Get a little closer as sophomores. Now I think he sees it all, you know? He had an incredible summer academically. Cassius, his mom would, it was really important to him. I mean, Cash is an academic All-American, you know? He's done well in school, not to the level he can. This summer, he had an incredible summer academically and puts himself now in a spot where I think the day will come where he will be an academic All-American. And we've only had a couple of those. I think Chris Hill, Gregory Kelser, you know, it's a small group. So I think I liked him to play to his own standard. I liked him to play to my standard. I'm really liking to play to our standard, which means we're all together on it. Not me against him, not him against me. We're all on the same page. And that's what happens when kids mature and coaches mature with them. You know, I mean, hey, there's things I had to learn about Cassius Winston too, you know. That doesn't all fall on him. And when I say that, we're talking like it was an issue before. Probably one of the greatest student, athlete people, and I know you'd agree with that. You spend a lot of time with him that I've ever had here.
I'd never met anyone that doesn't like Cassius Winston. I mean, it's impossible not to. If you don't like Cassius, I think you're the problem.
And maybe that's what he was saying to you, Hondo. Maybe this year's someone's got to still like and respect them, but it's okay if they're mad at him once in a while.
Well, and that's where I was going to go next, because he said to me, I have to hold my teammates to the standard they think they are.
Yeah.
And I thought, man, that's Izzo drilling in his brain.
Yeah, and you know, when you do that, people are going to be mad at you. You know, but those kind of mad at yous are short-lived. And that's what I think we all aspire to be. Any great leader can't worry about whether a kid's mad at him or not. He's got to figure out, what is my ultimate job? My ultimate job is to make sure I get everything out of him. Now he's taken that role on. His ultimate job is to get the most out of him, but make sure that other guys are getting the most out of themselves. With that is roadkill. With that is people that are upset with you. With that, you got to say something to somebody. And what I got to convince him and my team of this year, I heard a great line the other day, you know, if you're trying to make somebody better, why would that guy take it personal? But we all do, especially in this day and age. So him and I are going to have some great talks about that. Hey, don't worry if X is mad at you or one of the freshmen is mad at you for the day. Because I know you got their best interest in mind. I know you got this program's interest in mind. If you have those two things, we're dynamite.
Tom, I asked this of your players this summer, every one of them, and now I'm going to ask you. You lose 2 lottery picks who are great basketball players. You don't get picked in the lottery. Both great people. Jaron and Miles are just sweetheart individuals. You lose arguably one of the greatest leaders in Spartan history in Tum Tum. Another beautiful human being. I love him. But come March, I don't think to start, but come March, I think the sum of this 18-19 team can be better than last year. Am I nuts?
You're not nuts, and I'll tell you why you're not nuts. And yet last year's team was really good. And, you know, and to the day I die, I'm going to kick myself in that last game because we just didn't play as well. But as you know, we were kind of, we were heading downward when normally we're heading up at that end of the year, and for a variety of reasons. But here's the biggest reason, I think, Hondo, and it's happening at Kentucky, and it's happening at Duke. When you are filled with a bunch of young players, there's going to be more ebbs and flows. So in my mind, we're not going to be as physically talented. You can't have a 6'10" guy that can run and jump and block shots like he could. You can't have a man-child like we had in Miles. I'm glad you said it too. I bet you 2 of the more fun guys you've had to cover.
Love them.
Yeah.
I love them as people.
Yeah, and so students, people, the whole 9 yards. So that we're going to miss. Tum Tum, you know, he's going to be getting a job with the Phoenix Suns. It looks like that could end up unbelievable as a mentor front office. That just goes to show the depth of that kid. So we're going to miss that. But what we are going to have is hopefully a healthy McQuaid and a healthy Kenny Goins. Now, those 2 guys were healthy last year, but they had missed that summer. That's going to make a big difference. And then those 3 juniors were freshmen when they almost started. Yep. Cassius didn't, but he played a lot. The other 2 started as freshmen, started as sophomores. Now I got some experience. Throw Kyle Ahrens into that fold. Guy that sat out last year who you love, brings the toughness this team, can really shoot. And then I have Xavier, who came on last year like gangbusters. And we haven't even gotten to our freshmen yet, and I think we've got a pretty good 7-8 man group right there. And that's why I think you're saying that.
I think you're going to have a worse record, obviously.
Oh yeah,
but
the start of the season,
but
right is.
NCAA tournament, I think it's going to be better because some of the parts.
Yeah, and last year, the NCAA record. I mean, the game. That team was good enough to go on. I can't say they underachieved. I can say that we just ran into a situation. You're not the 3rd best 3-point shooting team, but that's a good reason I should be slapped in the face for that, because that's a good reason that you live with the 3, you die with the 3. We took 36 or 7 threes in that game, which we've never done in our life, against a strange team for a one-day prep, tough team to play, and we made 8 of them, and it was just one of those days. But I agree with you that this team won't be as talented. It's going to have to go some to be as good a guys, because what we lost. But it's rivaled that this summer. But I think the experience, so we're going to see, everybody talks about experience and they talk about talent. I think we got a little bit of both.
Yep.
And if you have a little bit of both, does that revert back to those teams that I had in 9 and 10 and 5 and maybe when we won it, where we have juniors and seniors leading the way, then the freshmen and sophomores can build. I mean, Jaron did a hell of a job. But Jaron was a freshman. Miles did a hell of a job. Miles was a sophomore. Because Kentucky and Duke are doing what they're doing with all those freshmen, we all just assume that's the way it is. But remember, Kentucky hasn't been back to a Final Four in a while. Duke, it's been 4 or 5 years, which I'm not saying is bad, but it's odd for them. It's hard to do that with young kids.
I'm going to talk to you about a guy that your players are talking about. And I remember you and I talking about this a couple of years ago. You said, hey, who are the guys talking about? Xavier Tillman. I'm telling you, Cassius talked about him, Kyle Ahrens talked about him, but more importantly, all 5 of your freshmen talked about him as, boy, he's been such a great. When I said to him, who's helped you? Oh, man, Xavier Tillman. This is a guy, fiance, a baby, mature beyond his age. And when I asked him about it, he's like, I'm just trying to be what we are in this program, and it's about us.
Well, we have 2 guys that epitomize taking care of their business. Josh Langford is unbelievable. He's in here every day. He takes care of things on the court, off the court. But Xavier Tillman, as you explained, he's been thrown a few curves with things that most 18, 19-year-olds don't have to deal with. And a lot of times that can be a big negative. I've never seen a situation that could be bad be better than what Xavier's done with it. Was not a great student in high school. Decent, not a great student. I think he's carrying a 3.6 in real classes. If you talk to our academic people, they tell you he's the best. If you talk to our strength and conditioning coach, he's down to 239 pounds. He's lost close to 40 pounds. He's in better shape. He's quicker. Spent a ton of time in here this summer. That's why I think, players know that. Coaches are on the road in July. Players know who's in the gym. So yeah, it sounds like we're making this. Wow, everything's great. You know why? There's a lot of great things happening right now, and that kid has shown guys through some adversity you can make it what you want to make it. I mean, I'm not sure I could deal with a child at that age. He's done an unbelievable job of including our guys in, so he's shown leadership, but yet spending time in here and balancing academics, athletics, family. That's a big play.
I'm going to tell you something that I don't think a lot of people outside of this building are thinking about, and it excites me. Xavier and Nick on the court together. Now, they argued all summer, who's the 4, who's the 5. I don't think it matters. As long I like the idea of them on the court together.
Well, I'm surprised Nick would argue who's the 4 and 5.
No, Nick wouldn't argue, but Xavier would.
No, because Nick thinks he's the 1 or 2.
Right. Well, you should have seen him at Moneyball playing point guard.
Yeah. But I got to give Nick a lot of credit what he's accomplished this summer, both on the in the classroom and on the court. He's done an unbelievable job. His body, and he is shooting the ball better. Mm-hmm. And Xavier, yet I think can guard more people. Xavier has a very high basketball IQ. So for me, I really don't care who's the 4 and who's the 5, but I do think you'll see them playing together more than a little. I just think that that could make us a rebounding team like the old Andre Hudson, Zach Randolph days, where we could be brutal in there, tough, aggressive, and then still have 3 guards that can get a lot done. So I do like that lineup, even though people say everything's heading to small ball. To me, things head to who you have and how you take advantage of what their strengths are.
Unfortunately for fans, it's not their fault. They only get to see an athlete. I get to know these kids, going back to high school, know them. Josh Langford is a great basketball player who either one of us would be thrilled if our daughter married.
Tomorrow.
Yep, he is a gem of a human being. I really look for him. I saw something this summer out of him. I saw the anger. And I don't mean mean, and I don't mean anything wrong by that.
Competitive anger.
That fire that matters to me. Yeah. Tom, am I seeing a maturation?
Well, I think you gotta, people gotta realize, you go through so many things that the average person doesn't see, Should Jaren Jackson have played a few more minutes? Not in the last game, but all games. Jaren Jackson was in foul trouble all the time.
Yep.
Josh Langford came in big. Josh Langford had the worst injury for an athlete. He had a bad pull in his hamstring, and it really, if you watch the film of him, most of his first year, he was like dragging his leg, things that you don't realize. That kid has worked since the day he's walked in this building. That kid has been accountable since the day. His family, unbelievable people. And I think what he's realized now that has helped him, he went from so worried about himself because he was upset that he wasn't playing maybe to the standard he wanted to, that this summer he's taken on a great leadership role. I mean, that kid was the shyest kid in the world. And you know what it's done? It's helped his own game. Because I think he realizes talking and helping others, he's all of a sudden catching himself, well, man, that's what I was doing back then, you know, and I got to get better at this, you know, and it's really helped him. So I, you know, couldn't agree more with, you cheer for guys like Josh Langford. You would want to marry your daughter, at least I would.
I would.
You would want him being a leader on his team, which I didn't know if he could get to. You know, him and Cassius are quiet guys. They're unbelievable. They're good students. They're great people. But you got to have a little nastiness in you too. I think you're explaining to me, because I didn't get to see the money ball. I didn't get to see a lot of the things. I think he's developing some of that nastiness where winning is the most important thing, instead of just, it wasn't how he played because he was selfish. He was trying to find himself and take care of himself. And that's pretty normal.
He said to me this summer, he said, I have to be my biggest critic. And he said, if I'm hitting my mid-range game, then I need to take mid-range shot. But if I'm not, I need to take the ball to the hole. And I looked at him and I just said, you know, when Tom hears that you said that, it's like Christmas is going to come early.
Because he's a great free throw shooter, doesn't get to the line enough. Now, what he has improved, he was an average to below average defender when he came. Now he's one of my best defenders. But, yeah, I think Josh has shown the maturity of growing up. He's, you know, he's lived with Tom his whole career here, lived with Miles, helped Jaron, you know. So I think you're going to see Josh Langford be one of the guys that takes the major step. If it's Josh and Cassius, two guys that were very raw last year and young, and those guys take the best step. If your guards are good, usually your team is good. So it's exciting.
I want to get into a guy that isn't getting a lot of publicity, and it stuns me. I don't know how you can be around this program and not talking about this kid. Kyle Ahrens. This is a kid that you told me, and I want to go back to signing day. You and I were walking out of here together, and you said to me, I like what you're saying about Ahrens, and you said no one would believe me.
He's the sleeper.
Yep, you said that to me that day, and this kid worked his tail off. He's found aggression. I think he's going to, now listen, I'm not saying he's Miles athletically, but Miles has admitted to me in front of you, he maybe needed a little bit more of that grit. I think he's going to bring some grit to the three that you haven't seen.
He is. You know, he can shoot, and he's got toughness. He grew up on a farm. He's tough. He's been injured.
Yep.
For a tough kid, he's had some sad injuries. You know, he broke his leg in high school. That was a sad injury. And he's never had the confidence. Then he had the stress fracture. Then it re-breaks. If you watch him, which you've done a lot because you go to all those things, his athleticism is back to what it was when I recruited him. And he is not Miles, but if Miles was sitting by me right now, he'd tell you that he might be the second best athlete on the team back then.
Yep.
And so he's regaining that, but he's an athlete that can shoot, that has toughness. Those are strange combinations. Now, what we have to understand is the process, if you look back over the years, when a kid sits out the whole year, although he did practice towards the end, but when you sit out a long time, you know, it takes some time to get the rust off. That's the one advantage I think we've had with the new rules, where we can work him out 3-4 hours a week. He got to make up for some of that season that he lost. And like you, I think Kyle Ahrens is a guy that could play the 2, the 3, and he could even play some 4 if we go small ball, which at times we'll do.
I want to switch to your freshmen for a moment. You bring in 5 of them. I don't know. I have so many fans. Do you think all 5 will start? Nope, never. I don't think it'll ever happen. But I want to talk about one kid that I think is ready to impact immediately, Aaron Henry. Great kid. Reminds me a lot of Josh Langford, character-wise, integrity-wise. But a kid that bloomed late. His dream was to play here because he was close to Gary Harris. It was a dream. I visited with him and his parents a lot. I've been down to Indiana, their home. I've been with them together. And his dad said this to me, and I want you to think about this one. His dad said to me, I don't care what Tom Izzo does or says to my son, because when you trust that your son made his pick, you're married.
Yep. His dad is an interesting guy, as you know. I mean, you've spent some time with him. And, speaking of Gary Harris, we wouldn't have recruited him if not for Gary Harris' persistence on coach. This kid is good. He played on Gary's AAU team. And we kind of, I won't say blew him off, but just weren't in love with him. Fife knew the coach there, Ben Davis High School, one of the great high schools of all time. High basketball IQ. He played center to point guard on that team. And they had a very successful season, as we know. And I just think that what is the difference between him and the other four? He has the toughness, the athletic ability, and the size. You know, Gabe has more size, but not more strength. Marcus is really big, but very skinny yet. You know, I think Thomas Kithier has been another kid who's been a little surprised because he's got the strength and basketball IQ. And of course, Foster Lawyer might have as good a basketball IQ as anybody in a while, you know. And I think you'll see him and Cassius playing together some, because Cassius has improved his shooting so much. I can play Cassius at the 1 or the 2. But Foster's got to, you know, came in 155 pounds, and, you know, you got to get that up to 170, 75 anyway, which he has worked very hard at. But I would agree with you. Aaron Harris is the most ready out of the wrapper, out of the box, you know. And because he's 215, 17 pounds, he's got a frame on him. He played in a very competitive league. And thank God for Gary, because Gary and his dad kept saying, Coach, do what you got to do, what I'm telling you. And we'd go watch him, and he's kind of an unselfish kid, and sometimes he just kind of fits in the flow and doesn't do anything wrong, but doesn't do anything great. And now he's kind of showing a lot of different skills. I don't know what at Moneyball, but he excited you, and you've seen him a lot.
He excited me a lot more going down to Indiana to watch him in high school. His coach, which you know, legendary high school coach, produces big-time talent, said to me he may be the most unselfish player I've ever coached. And as soon as he said it, I thought, that's an Izzo player.
Well, he is very unselfish and somewhat almost like Miles. What I got to make sure I do is I got to make him a little selfish, you know. You got to be a little selfish, and that's why I think he's grown this summer, you know, where he's a little more aggressive. He's got a first step that can reminds me of Allen Anderson. That first step, you know, where he's by somebody. And I think he too will be able to play the 2, 3, and the 4, depending if we're small ball or big ball.
Last question for me. You've said this multiple times, and I agree with you, that you'd like to see all of the NBA rules in college basketball. I love that idea. I think it's brilliant. You are an influential coach. You're a past president of the Coaches Association. Is there a legitimate push for that, or is it just talk?
You know, I think there is a push in some. They did some experimental rules. The women, I think, they're ahead of us, if you ask me. You know, I think, like, different people have said, you know, why are there so many different kinds of basketball? You know, and if the ultimate goal is to get there, why aren't we building to get there? You know, we do that with youth. I mean, maybe we'll lower the rim a little bit when they're too small to shoot it, but for the most part, they're playing on the same size court with the same rules. For some reason, we're changing that instead of us playing by some of their rules, which is the ultimate place I want to get. What would hurt? Even if you made it a 24-second shot clock, I like the 30. I think college kids would have a hard time adjusting to that, but they'd adjust. But the moving the ball at the end, the widening of the lane to keep it more open, all the other little intricate parts of things, I think would be great. I really do. And I think it would help prepare guys for the next level. But I think people watching the game, then it's not called 6 different ways because there's different rules. You watch a college game and a pro game, maybe they look more alike, except we're going to play a little more defense a lot longer because they have the 82 games. But I would like to see that. I think it would be good. Maybe it would bring us together with the NBA a little bit. You know, there's got to be better working relationship with college and NBA. So in every reason, I think it would benefit the kid. We try to do a lot of things nowadays, Hondo, that benefits the kid. Preparing him for life, we're trying to benefit the kid. Preparing him for his profession, I think that would aid in help benefiting the kid.
2 questions and I'll be done. Your thoughts on Secretary Rice's proposals that are coming? Like them, dislike them? What do you like, what don't you like?
Well, I like a lot of it. I think some of it is going to have to be tweaked a little bit. You know, because some of it I think sounds good on paper, but when it's put into action is going to be a little more difficult, you know, and that's the only thing. I still think we're in a profession where we don't trust the coaches. I mean, we've got everybody making rules for us, and we're not getting enough input from the coaches. We're getting some. And some of the input, the difference in football and basketball is football has 120 schools, we have 351. We got problems right off the bat. How do you please everybody? You're not gonna please everybody. You gotta do what's best for, I think, the student athlete, you know, and getting more coaching, getting more time, I think is good for them, you know. It's kind of funny as all these things are happening in college sports. It seems like a lot of the rules that we've gone through in the last 10 years was to spend less time, which equals more problems, as it would with your own kids. Spend less time with them and have more problems. So I don't think sometimes we're looking at that, but I think, you know, I was surprised they weren't a little stricter in some areas to get away from what seems to be the problems in college basketball and the cheating. And I think in other areas they, you know, they did great. So I don't know, you know, I'm a roll with the punches guy now, you know. If they tell me to recruit 60 days in the summer, I'm gonna be out all 60. If they say 10, I'm gonna be out all 10. But I do think we gotta find a way, Hondo, to it's Disney World where these kids are at in these AU tournaments and that, the way they're treated. I mean, it's so good, it's so, college becomes a downstep instead of an upstep, you know, and that bothers me, worries me, more for the players than it does for me.
Lastly, I want to talk about character. And this team, grade point, currently reflects character. I know that this isn't something you normally talk about in interviews, but I want fans to hear this. Tell them about the current.
Well, you know, this is bragging time for them, not for me, for our academic people. But we just had the greatest summer ever. I think our summer GPA was around a 3.4, and so everybody knows they're not all Mickey Mouse classes. You know, they're real classes. And I had some guys that have been struggling that really, you know, Xavier stepped up. Nick Ward really stepped up, you know. Cassius, who's already up, stepped at another level, and Josh. But our freshmen came in, and you know, we have some challenges with a couple of those guys, and they did a phenomenal job. So we got off on the right foot. And you know, a lot of times there's sayings out in the coaching world, what starts bad usually ends bad. Well, let's hope what starts good can really ratchet up to being great. And I think that's where there's an academic and an athletic component. And a lot of times, Hondo, they do go together, because you got to be disciplined to be a great athlete. You got to have good character. You got to be pretty disciplined to be what would be an average student. I mean, most of the guys you bring in are average compared to the regular student. Not all of them. Now, we got some really good students, but the job they have to do to get where they want to get is difficult. And I was proud of our team this summer. So you're right, I normally don't talk about it. I can't speak on individual players' grade points because those are against the laws, but I'm just telling you, we had some guys, we had 13 guys that did well, but we had 5 or 6 guys that took it from here to here. And I think that bodes well. You know what I think it is too, some of it? Maturity. You know, we're living in an era where everybody's 1 or 2 and done. And guys never get a chance to grow. I mean, I wasn't as good a student my freshman year as I was my junior year.
Me either.
You probably weren't either. And it's for no other reason than you mature, you understand things. That probably, if someday we should do a little show on that, because that would be an interesting segment, you know. Are we really giving these kids a fair chance to grow? We're demanding and expecting so much that I think it's hard on them, and that's why I thought the Xaviers of the world, as you said, Josh's and Cassius, those guys help those freshmen realize that you go to class, you take care of your business, you be accountable, good things are going to happen. And at least for this summer, a lot of good things happen.
Any season you're back, good things are happening at Michigan State. Thanks, my friend.
Thanks, Hondo.
Appreciate you.